Hey guys, my name is JessiMew, and welcome back to the Lone Wolf Challenge. In the last episode, the youth of our tribe began to feel the pull of adventure. Guided by their families, they're now all making their way toward the northern ports, perhaps a little bit unwittingly. I'm sure that not many of the creatures know that the ports even exist. In fact, that's kind of a secret that Toothless and Apex are keeping. But as they make their pathway closer to the heart of the camp, I'm sure in no time our new lone wolf will be ready to set sail. This leg of the challenge is nearly through. With quite a few of our older generations passing away, I'm not sure if we're ever going to reach that population of 20, but honestly, I think I'm ready to call it. We've already been on this island for about 10 episodes now, so it's about time that we move on. I'm sure that our youngest generation is more than ready to prove themselves. That's kind of what Leo's trying to explain to his mother. All he wants is to dive into the stream and swim around like he was meant to, but she's a little bit too nervous to let him go. So with Cease sitting on the opposite end of the stream, maybe she could gently convince Navi to let go of that fishing tail of his, and we could have him flop on into the stream for the very first time. Our creatures have pretty much avoided the water ever since those issues with the leeches at the beginning of this challenge. Canvas always knew the tide pools to be a dangerous place, so he was never a very good friend of Splash, and that makes Leo's experience all the more unique. And it might also explain why Navi is so worried. She knows that she won't be able to follow Leo the further he goes down the stream, but he seems to be having fun, and I guess that's all that a mother could really hope for. Now it looks like you better grab up your paints before Takir takes them all. Those bunnies are definitely eyeing up your berry bushes. Oh my gosh, and we still have Takir's little bunny trapped in the thorns over here. Honestly, I think he's grown to love this little swamp family. And I think Tango is probably his favorite creature of all. But pretty soon we'll have to start moving them over toward Jokobi, because he's been doing a little bit of spying lately. He's been watching the heart of the tribe and all of their strange rituals. The murals they paint on the rocks, the markings they paint on each other. Jokobi knows that all of it must be very important, so he's actually hoping that his family could help him make a mural for the Swamp Mother next. She did just pass away in the previous episode, so I'm sure this whole family needs some time to mourn. I guess we could bring Loki down to the shore for now. That way Tango could scoot out next to the berry bush, and he could inspect the paints too. I guess Jokobi could grab these up for his little brother. That way he could help him do some painting once he's old enough. It seems like Tango is going to have a very artistic soul. Maybe that's even why he's attracted the attention of so many of those bunnies. Takir knows that Tango has a lot of promise inside him. He only needs to unlock his own inspiration. Sky was actually searching for some little bunnies of her own. I think she had one back here. She was going to try to catch it, but it looks like she may have scared it away. So instead, I wonder if she could call Diana over here to pick up some of those coconuts. Seraphina and Diana don't really have very many coconuts over here, and in fact, they were thinking about striking off on their own. Seraphina has seen plenty of coconuts leading down the shore, so I think she'd probably like to go this way. But Diana's not so sure. And in fact, with all the spying that Jokobi has been doing, I wonder if he's even heard about this great migration. Maybe Diana is a little bit more curious about that, and I can see that forming a bit of a rift between the twins. Now it seems like their futures are branching off in different directions, their ambitions are different, and it's hard enough for them to find middle ground. So Seraphina will lead Diana over to the coconut tree, but it's not very likely that Diana is going to stay. I think she'll go as far as the poisonberry bush, and then her curiosity is going to get the best of her. She doesn't want to live a solitary life out here, always trapped beneath the coconut trees. Maybe Diana has found that she doesn't even really like coconuts. She would prefer to find some different food out there that is a bit more suited to her tastes. So we'll leave Loki right here so we can keep watch over Tango, but then we should probably go back to our main nest. Little Walfred was born in the last episode, and he's quite an interesting creature. That tie right across his chest makes him look like quite the businessman. I'm sure everything would start as innocent as possible when he's just a little baby like this. Like I could see him maybe offering up services for berries. Kind of like babysitting or mowing lawns, or maybe even opening a lemonade stand. But as he grows, that kind of greed might get the best of him, so it'll be interesting to see where his story goes too. Now if we bring Pudding back to the nest, she should be able to have another baby with Rovan. Maybe somebody who is a bit more suited to the delicate task of painting murals, because I just can't see Walfred being the type to sit around all day. Rovan only has a couple more days remaining on his lifespan as it is, so these are going to be his last few chances to choose his heir, and that means it might just be Litzy's last chance to meet him as well. And I think it's safe to say that Jade has probably convinced her to check it out. So if we bring Jade all the way up to the stump, lighting the way for her mother this time, a bit of a change in roles. Maybe we could even see if these two could dig up some roots along the way, because I'm sure they're feeling pretty peckish. And not only that, but since Jade saw her own sister offer up roots in exchange for the healing fruit, I'm sure she figures that that would probably work for Litzy as well. So why don't you actually go ahead and dig up this root for us, and then we'll have Litzy charge out toward the grasslands. She could settle down right here perhaps, just close enough to dig up a root of her own, but not quite close enough to let herself be seen. I think she's still probably feeling a little bit too nervous. But on that same note, we better make sure that Jade doesn't settle down next to her. If she gets Litzy sick, then she's going to end up passing, so instead, Jade, go ahead and clear out the grass, I suppose. There are no other roots for you to dig up over here anyways, so just make sure that your mother can make her way back. Even though she knows that Litzy is really weak, she probably doesn't realize the full extent of it. She figures that if her mother doesn't enjoy her time here, she can just slink on back to the swamplands. She doesn't realize that this journey is probably going to be her last. Now Navi, you better catch up to your son. Let's have her jump right up here so she's in front of him. And then I suppose she could dip her own toes into the water too. That would be a good way for them to bond. It's kind of funny because Navi is actually a better swimmer than he is. She has a swimming tail instead of the fishing tail, and while the gills give them the water breathing, it doesn't increase their water speed. So Navi could jump way up here, showing off in front of her son, and then she could even jump up here to gather some berries too. A nice little snack for him once he's done splashing around in the water. And Cease, you must be pretty happy. Maybe you should try to claw your way over here too. Not only would that help us with clearing out our pathways, but I want you two to be close together all the time. Now Jay is probably starting to get a little bit curious. He's already run into plenty of creatures who have needed his purring magic, so I wonder if he's thinking that it might be a good idea to go diving into the darkness looking for more. Who knows what other creatures might need a bit of his healing too. I wonder if maybe he should stay behind one extra day though. It just dawned on me. If we have Jay purr for Litzy, we might be able to save her. I'm just not sure if we can get through the darkness in time. Since he has such poor eyesight, he does have quite a bit of trouble moving around. Yeah, to be honest, that might actually be a lost cause. We already know from experience that creatures only receive the purring magic after the day has passed. So if he can't get to her side on this turn, it's not really going to matter at all. I guess that means it would be more beneficial for him to dive off into uncharted territory. And I see that little bunny back there. You better grab it while you still have the chance, Apex. I think that Toothless is probably still feeling a little bit too run down to do any bunny hunting with you. He actually just came across the remains of his father, the father that he never knew. And with the rogue male in the water too, Toothless and Apex have had one tragic story. But Apex, despite his strength with his crown of ram horns, he's never been very good at exploring his emotions. Bunny hunting might come easy to him, but this is all new territory. So maybe all they really need is somebody like Jay who would be able to soothe their mind. So let's start bringing him after his family. We'll have him carve the way, jump right up here by the stream. Oh, as the bunnies gather around you, you're not even going to mention to Apex that they're right behind you? I just don't think that he has the energy. He's probably so tired from all of his grief. Oh, Kovu, each and every last one of your berries is gone. We're going to have to find you a different berry bush then. We'll bring you up here so you can keep carving out the pathway too, and you can lend Jay a hand with all of his work. Now I guess if we could find a route for Sky to dig up, maybe then this turn wouldn't be a waste. But I think the closest ones are way up here by all of the nests, so you might have to do a little bit of traveling. I guess for now we might as well just have you clear out the grasses then, make it even easier for all the babies to get through. And with Loki remaining right there, we should be ready to skip the turn again. So let's head on back to Pudding and Rovan's nest, and we'll see if the baby between them ends up being just as unique as Walfred. Oh, is that another blank canvas? A darker, dustier canvas. But you can almost see the spots all over her. Yeah, looks like her spots are the same color as her fur pattern, so it's very, very hard to see. But she does have tiny hidden spots on her nonetheless. Interesting. Takira's getting very creative with these babies, I guess. When she's quiet as a mouse too, she's the fishing tail to scoop up some of those silvery scales, and they'll never hear her coming with her velvet paws. The next name on my list is Blueberry, so welcome to our tribe, little one. Pretty fitting too with those blue eyes that she has, and the fact that she's been born into a line of painters. She'll be great at collecting paints to finish the murals. So now, before we go any further, let's make sure that we can bring Litzy out to the open. If we bring Jade in front of her, she should be able to scoop up that root that she found. There was a root, right? Right underneath her toes. Go ahead and dig that up for us, and then we'll see if you can stumble your way into the clearing. Right next to the mural, in fact. So this is one way for you to meet Rovan and his family, and I wonder if you would even recognize her. I don't think these two ever truly crossed paths, but I was always curious about his origins. It was almost as if he received the patterns that she was meant to possess. We actually found him as a wanderer when he was very young. So I wonder if maybe Takira even spoke to him in the past, maybe through dreams, and he knows that those markings are meant to be for her. I mean, doesn't her father's markings look so much like Rovan's? It is awfully suspicious. So maybe this would excite him to finally see this creature and so close to the end of her life too. He can finally give her the markings that she was always meant to have and bring her some form of peace before she passes. So let's bring Rovan over to the berry bush. We'll have him gather up as many of those berries as he can. And I guess that means that Blueberry will be his last heir after all. He'll be too busy now to raise another baby. It's probably all well and good anyways. I'd imagine that Pudding must be feeling very proud of her mate and all of the good work that he's doing for the tribe. She knows that his time is nearly done, but she's glad that she got the chance to know him so well. Now, of course, let's make sure that Jade slips her way out of the grasses too. Are there any more roots for you to dig up in the process? Yeah, you could go ahead and dig up this root for us, and then maybe stay back a little bit, watching from afar as your mother finally gets her greatest wish. Again, she probably doesn't even realize how close to the end of her life Litzy really is, so she just figures that tomorrow morning she can congratulate her mother. Give her a little "I told you so" on the way over too. Now this is probably your best opportunity to slip away, Diana, so let's bring you on up here. And you can go charging into the main heart of the camp as well, probably causing quite a disturbance in Walfred's eyes. Maybe he'd even come on over here to investigate. You could pick up the grasses around her, maybe even as his very first job. He'll promise to carve the path for her as long as she pays him in berries. And since she does want to go off on that adventure, she doesn't want to get left behind, she'd probably be more than willing to accept. How hard can it possibly be to snatch a couple of those berries before the pesky bunnies get them first? She's probably about to learn that the hard way. Now, Seraphina, as you come up here searching for your sister, let's bring you over to the coconut tree. We have one coconut that you can pick up over here, but it would probably be helpful if Sky could find you some more. But on that same note, she's going to need some healing. Maybe you could come over here to let Jokopi purr for you. He is a little bit busy right now, but Tango's just about ready to take over with the painting. I can see him being like a kid with finger paint. A little toddler smearing berries all over everything. Maybe he would even turn his attentions to Sky herself. He could practice painting his markings on that dark fur of hers. She was once considered a smudged canvas, But I suppose just like our lone wolf himself, her fur would hold quite a bit of room for creativity, and that's something that Tango knows very, very well. So she'll let him play for now, experiment with markings all over her fur. Oh, unless she smells that bunny? Wait a second. If she catches a whiff of that pesky bunny in the grasses again, she is going to go charging after it no matter what. If it just gets a tiny bit closer, she might be able to reach in and finally snag it. She's been chasing after this bunny for quite some time. Now Loki, maybe you could come on over here and pick up these old nests for us. It's not as though you're going to be needing it anymore. Oh, and one of the swamp mother's nests has already withered away. Unfortunately, we weren't able to catch it in time, but at least you managed to pick up one of them, and I'm sure that's going to help us in the future. Now, Jokobi, if we could find you some more berries for all of your little brother's painting experiments, that would probably be for the best. You guys are going to need a lot of paints to keep up with him, that's for sure. So I think we're just down to our exploring families way up by the streams. And we could have Leo make his way straight downstream too. Maybe he would even run straight into Apex and Toothless if he does decide to follow the stream all the way down. I guess that bunny meat would be enough to lure anybody closer. It's not as though these two ever had a shortage of food. In fact, you guys might consider yourselves lucky. We actually have a few creatures who could pick up these acorns for you, and that's something that none of them have ever gotten the chance to taste. And if you do take care of all of those bunnies, despite Toothless's lack of help... Oh, there you go! You finally managed to dig up that root? Finally putting your father's remains to rest? So maybe that'll finally help you move on, too. It looks like even the rogue male's remains have disappeared from the water, so I suppose that might be lifting his spirits. Less of a reminder of the harsh days that they endured. Now, it looks like we may have unlocked another gene. So, just so we know what it might be, let's go into Apex's mutation menu. Is it maybe one of the strength-related genes? No, it doesn't look like we have the claw yet. Oh, it's the digging paw. I'll bet that Toothless managed to unlock us the digging paw then, when he was pawing desperately at the ground for a place to bury his father. Well, that's kind of fitting. I'm not sure if we would ever use a digging paw in a specific challenge, but it is still a helpful thing for us to keep around for food. Now if we bring Cease over here to pick up all of these delicious berries, as the bunnies skitter on the other side of the stream. I wonder if that would call any attention from Navi. She does have a nice big nose, so maybe she can smell that bunny meat better than her kids. Maybe she'll even want to investigate first, just to make sure that her son Leo isn't swimming into any danger. But she has kind of lost track of Jay. So as he and Kovu continue carving their pathway around the bend, they might be some of the first to come face to face with Apex and Toothless. Did your bunny go away, Sky? I forgot to check if it was skittering around. Well, it's actually still under the coconut tree. Oh, I wonder if maybe it was stunned. Come on over here and we'll see. Yes, it looks like there is a little coconut right on top of this bunny, so you might be able to pick off an easy meal after all. We should be ready to skip the day too, so as we go ahead and pass the night, unfortunately saying goodbye to some of our oldest tribe mates. How fitting that they passed side by side. If they did have that deep connection from their markings, Takir must be very happy that they met at last. But it sure is going to be a difficult thing for Jade to swallow. She was so happy to see her mother smile again, but she didn't realize it would be for the last time. Now, Sky, it's time for you to grab your bunny at last. Go ahead and pick up that meat for us. And then you can call Seraphina to the other side of the coconut tree to gather all of these coconuts too. A nice big feast for your entire family. It might even be the last feast that she can give them, because I think her days are just about numbered as well. That'll probably break Tango's heart the most. With all the bonding they did, they must have been pretty close. But at least you can promise to add her to the mural. And likewise, you guys have a lot of work to do over here. Some pretty darn big shoes to fill. Blueberry, that is going to be all up to you. But your mother is going to be by your side every step of the way. Let's even bring her right up here. Mourning her fallen mate, of course. But it'll bring her close enough to the berry bushes that she can gather plenty of paints for her daughter. After all, Walfred is not quite as interested. He is far more dedicated to this path-clearing task, because he knows it means good berries for him. So we'll bring Diana right in his shadow, and on the next turn we'll have him clear the way. Then she should be able to catch up to the rest of the tribe for sure. Now let's have Jade tiptoe quietly out from hiding. I know there were plenty of more roots around here too, so maybe that's something that Blueberry can use in the mural. Before those markings were added to her fur, Litzy could easily blend into the darkness of the swamps. So maybe those earthy roots and soils will help capture her properly on the rocks. I think Leo might have his third gem now. It looks like he's all grown up in the streams. He is such a handsome creature too. I think he's going to find himself quite a few admirers, whether or not he decides to leave on those ports. Interesting how the bluebird is still circling overhead these jungle ports as well. Maybe that's another sign? Or another thing that our tribe would take as a sign at least, and a reason to investigate those tiles. Now using her swift swimming speed, let's have Navi slink over to the other side of the stream, meeting Apex head-on before her son can get involved. Maybe he'd be more likely to scold her for scaring away the bunnies. It doesn't really look like there are many out here for him to collect. In fact, every last bunny may have skittered away. There's just one more way down here by the shore, but until Toothless calls out to let him know, Apex is going to have no idea. So why don't we have Jay make his way over to Toothless's side, and maybe our curious healer can get to know him better. He can probably sense that great fatigue deep down in his bones, but he can't see any injuries on him. Nothing that he can sense. So as he purrs for him, the two of them can hunker down as he hopes for the best, probably wondering if there's more to healing than just what's on the surface. But while their first impression may not have been the greatest, I think these two are going to come to understand that neither of them are very imposing. Navi is just worried about her kids, of course, and Apex, really, is just worried about Toothless. So they might seem on edge, but neither of them are coming here to steal any food, neither of them are coming here to harm their family. So maybe instead we could make some sort of truce. In fact, if we call Cease over after she picks up all of those berries, she might be able to help you out with that acorn situation. She could even help you gather the poison berries too. That was actually her specialty. I'll bet that's something that Navi would brag to everyone that she meets. She just can't help that her mate is the most talented creature she knows. So if that doesn't leave Apex feeling a little bit curious, then I suppose nothing will. We might as well have him clear out the grasses so she can get to the berry bushes easier. And then Leo, why don't you go ahead and spring onto the shore as well? I bet he's feeling mighty curious, but maybe he's sticking to the outskirts because he doesn't want his mother to get too worried about him again. He has all the confidence of a lion hidden deep down inside him, and he can't stand being stifled by anyone, not even by his own parents. So with the last couple of our turns here, we'll clear out a little bit more of this grass, and then I would imagine that in the next episode... Oh, look at that, we found a little clown koi! Oh, I wonder if any of our fishing-tailed creatures will be skilled enough to catch it. Something tells me they probably need a couple of claws too. But in the next episode, I would imagine that our path will finally be clear, and our 3 potential lone wolves will be chosen as well. I already have a pretty good idea in mind who I'm going to set up on the poll for you guys, but we have one more day to wait. So you can go ahead and clear out that grass for yourself, Sky, and then we'll skip the turn to make sure that nothing dangerous is going to come stumbling out. Like I said in the last episode, I am very, very surprised by how quiet it has been. Not a single hyena in the grass. Oh my gosh, wait a second though. Oh my gosh, I thought this was a cactus. But it looks like it might be another wanderer? Oh, a wanderer with the nimble fingers too. Wait a second, Tango. I'm sure he would be very, very curious, but maybe Jokobi should come up first. He probably wouldn't want his little brother talking to strangers anyways. Wait a second. Oh, did you just steal our paints? Well, that simply won't do. Blueberry has a very big job to do here, and she's not going to let you take all of her precious paints. So she's scared him out into the open, and no wonder he blended in so well. With that dark fur of his, I wouldn't be surprised if he creeped out from the swamps. So, Kunoro? Maybe this is another creature we could invite to the tribe, just because we don't want him stealing all of our berries. And with those nimble fingers, he'll be able to collect plenty more berries than we can. If those pesky bunnies don't steal them all first. Maybe this is just the mentor that Tango needs, somebody to fetch him paints, somebody to help him with his murals, and maybe even somebody to use as a test subject too. He does have the blank fur just like Sky did, so if he's not careful, Tango is going to have him full of berry juice by tomorrow. But for now, thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you all next time. Bye guys!